Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube channel and podcast. I am your host today, Kris, joined by Daryl and Iain, the same three lads that actually did the match preview as well. So this is going to be interesting. Boys, we're just going to tackle this one head on, and we're going to fire through a lot of talking points in this game. So warning everybody now, this will probably be a pretty short one after the 2-0 defeat at the hands of Bournemouth. Daryl, I'm going to come to you straight away, mate, because obviously we went in a little bit of detail as to how we were expecting Eddie Howe to set up the team and which players were going to be available for him. So starting line 11 came out, and there was a last-minute change as far as we know, obviously because Tino was supposed to be starting, but that got changed. We're led to believe, which introduced Hall in at left back. So just starting to go through the team. Nick Pope in goal, obviously. Trippier on the right-hand side. Lascelles and Fabian Shaw in the middle. Hall on the left. Longstaff, Miley and Willock making up the midfield, along with Joe Linton, Almiron on the flanks, and Gordon up top. So it's pretty much as we expected, with a couple of changes in there, really. What were your thoughts when you first saw it, Daryl?
I thought at first it was probably the strongest lineup that Eddie could put out there. I mean, obviously we knew that missing Bruno was going to be a massive blow, and I wasn't sure if he would just shuffle around the personnel that he had. I wasn't actually expecting Lewis Miley to get a start, but I was really chuffed for him that he got that opportunity. We all saw enough of him in pre-season to think that there was a player in there, and it was really comforting to see him actually get some Premier League minutes for a change. And you would have thought going into the game, and this is no disrespect to Bournemouth, and obviously they did end up going on to win the game, but against a team like Bournemouth, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to blood Lewis Miley into the team with a start in the league. But again, in terms of the 11 itself, I thought Tino Livramento deserved a start, whether or not that would have been at full back or even on the right wing. He's done enough in the last few games to warrant some sort of start in that respect. But I can also see why it was done, because he has played a lot of games recently, so he probably needed a little bit of a rest in that first half anyway, just to cover for the fatigue.
I think a lot of it really on the likes of Callum Wilson's availability, Iain. If Callum Wilson was available, then that would have changed that lineup quite a bit. Obviously, people shuffle around. Miley probably wouldn't have got you start against Bournemouth. But Callum Wilson didn't even travel with the team, and like we said on the preview, it was a flip of a coin, really, which it was going to land if Callum Wilson was even going to be available, never mind start the game. It seems we're back in this position once again where we have no strikers whatsoever.
And anyone that's in our group chat knows how much I bang the drum. Obviously, I get what you were saying on, I think it was the match reaction to Dortmund. Getting a third choice striker is quite niche. It's not like FIFA or Football Manager where you can just buy like a young player or a veteran. Like, I think Decker raised the point. Kris would have been sort of the best sort of quality third choice. So it was always a risk, particularly given Callum Wilson's injury record, and then that hasn't helped. Been helped by Isak picking up an injury, which has literally just left him as the only option. Going into the game, though, I was confident enough that I've seen enough from Gordon through the European Championships, and then when he's been called to play that sort of false nine role, that we would have had enough. But just the way that Bournemouth started the game, I thought completely took us by surprise. I wasn't expecting them to be sort of as explosive from the start. I thought they might have sort of tried to sit off a little bit and ask us to try and break them down. We touched on that. We do find that a little bit difficult.
But you mentioned it yourself, Iain, though, that Bournemouth, despite obviously not having a great start to the season, they've always stayed in games.
Yeah.
So I think it proved basically that they're not getting the horses handed to them each game. Well, obviously, the Man City game, can't ignore that. So obviously them staying in the game is something which they do. And just coming back to you, Iain, the fact that they controlled that game from start to finish, and there's no denying that they did throughout that. It was credit to them, because yes, we did have a depleted squad out there, but I'm the same as you. I thought there was still enough there before the kickoff that we could go and do some, well, not do some damage, but get a result there. I think we found out straight away that some of the players that have been ever present in this team, they looked absolutely shattered. And Joe Linton's a prime example for me. He looked knackered. Fabian Shaw looked knackered as well, Ian.
Yeah, 100%. Like you say, full credit to Bournemouth. They were complete deserved winners. I think they had 2 or 3 shots in the first 2 minutes. One was a routine save for Pope, but the other one he was made to work. I thought that Semenya for Bournemouth, I thought he caused quite a lot of problems with his pace through the middle. Like you say, it's not a case of, I don't think there was a lack of effort. Don't get us wrong, it wasn't a great performance by us by all means. I thought we were quite poor, but given, I think we've played a game every 3 days, but we don't have that luxury of rotating any players at all. We've literally, it's been pretty much the same sort of 11 to 13, 14 players that have featured in every game. And it's not making excuses like that. That's what sort of been at the top and in all 4 competitions. Obviously, FA Cup doesn't start till January, but that's what it's all about. I just think our squad, we've been so unlucky with injuries as well. It's unprecedented. Like, we've literally got, I think, 11, possibly 12 now.
12
not
now,
even
I
like
think it is. Yeah.
It's not even like fringe players as well. It's like players that would be in the starting 11 or a match day squad. Like, it's your bread and butter players that are missing, and it's not just for like 1 or 2 games. It's literally until sort of January now. I know there's a couple going to be coming back after the international break, but take nothing away from Bournemouth. I think you're right in what you're saying. They controlled the game. They had the much better chances, much clearer chances. And on another day, if they were a little bit more prolific, I genuinely think it could have been about 5 or 6. And that's not to say that we were horrendous. I just think Bournemouth were the much better side.
It always shows something, Daryl, when you keep ends up getting man of the match. And I'm not sure if it's official that he did get man of the match, but from a fan's point of view, I'm giving it Nick Pope all day long, because in that first 15, 20 minutes, he kept us in that game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He was on top form as ever. And I think he made 8 crucial saves in that game yesterday. And I think, just going off what I've seen for Fantasy League, FPL points and whatnot, he made 8 saves and got 2 points for that. And that shows how busy he was. And to be fair, he was busy because we've already mentioned it, the fatigue element yesterday really came into play, and we were so tired so quickly in that game. And credit, like Ian said, to Bournemouth, they were pressing on us from the start. It almost zapped us of anything that we had for that game straight away. I think I noticed it after about 20 minutes yesterday that the lads were just really running on fumes at that point, and it was a bad sign that we were that bad so early into the game. And you know, for all that Nick Pope gets stick from certain sections, you know, yesterday, yes, he conceded twice, but by God, he kept it down. As Ian said, it could have been 5 or 6 easy if it hadn't been for Nick Pope making some crucial saves.
Yeah, you saw the best of Nick Pope yesterday in regards to basically what he's there to do, keeping the ball out the back of the net, and he, like you said, despite obviously losing 2-0, he did a damn good job throughout the game at doing that. Bournemouth had 19 shots at goal, 10 of those on target. They only managed to get 2 shots at goal, I believe, in the previous fixture at Man City. It's probably because they were picking the ball out the back of the net most of the time, like, but that's probably why. Do you know what is, other than that, the stats were pretty even. I know stats can be manipulated and look better than what they actually are. But apart from when we conceded the goal, which we'll talk about in a minute, there was a brief 5-10 minute spell after that where Newcastle looked to step it up a gear and go for it. But the goal which we conceded, Ian, I think it just sums up the situation which we're in at the moment. It's just a brain lapse by a couple of defenders where they're just not fast enough to react to. Let's say it is a pretty lucky. Well, it's Joe Willock, I believe that makes the tackle. Then it just drops nicely to Solanke. It is then obviously great touch. Then absolutely smashes it past Nick Pope. Nick Pope's pretty close to getting it, but I think just how fast that happens, he can't do anything else really.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think it's a lot of that's probably mental fatigue. I think if you have fresher players, they might be confident enough or comfortable enough to get the foot on the ball and turn out rather than just sort of dangle a foot and hope for the best. And then sort of the reaction from we're back four. Again, I'm not pointing blame at anyone. Dominic Solanke's on his toes. He sort of breaks through. And then initially I thought Pope should be doing better, but as you say, it happens so fast that he doesn't really get set. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I don't think we played into that goal. I think it was sloppy play from Lascelles. Maybe he played it up, and I think Gordon gets out muscled on the left wing, and then it just breaks through. And they do a nice little passage of play, and then obviously the ball breaks through to Willock, who tries to get a foot on it and just plays Solanke through. If Willock had been a Bournemouth player, that would have been an absolutely lovely through ball. But obviously, it's just at the minute it's one of those things where you can't really put blame on anyone. It's just an unfortunate goal to concede. But after that, obviously, we had the Gordon chance. I thought he could have maybe took it on a little bit. Maybe he's took an extra touch.
Nice little nutmeg, though, isn't it?
Lovely, lovely little nutmeg. Leaves the defender behind him. Possibly, again, it could have been just sheer mental fatigue that I've got an opening, I'm going to shoot, rather than being able to think, right, I'll take this on another and try and get a shot, a better shot away. But I don't really think the majority of the game, I don't really think we tested their keeper, which again just shows sign. Like, I know people will be saying, "Oh, well, it's just an excuse that user fatigue," but like playing elite football like every 3 days, where you've got literally the same 11 people, is going to take its toll. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Man City. I don't care if you're Liverpool, Bayern Munich. It will physiologically, it will take an effect. But
a lot of people as well, will be looking at Newcastle squad and say, well, your squad's big enough. And I agree. I think the competition between the squad is big enough. But when you throw in this injury crisis as well, that obviously is going to have such an impact on it, because it was mentioned in our group. It just recycles the players which are getting used every single week, and it's giving them 2 or 3 days rest. And I'm saying rest, they'll be obviously get a day off or half a day off. Not even that, they might be straight back into training to review the game that's just gone by, then getting up to speed with the tactics of formations and everything else going into the next game. Obviously, if you've got basically the advantage of having these players fit, then that works a hell of a lot better, because you can rotate. You could see
100%.
Daryl, Eddie Howe's frustrations on the sideline when a couple of players went down. I can't remember which player went down in the first. Oh, it was Fabian Shaw went down in the first half. Yeah. With his knees, which looks like he's just being crucified, mind. It's like stigmata, Fabian Shaw's knees at the moment. But obviously he made it through the game. But then later on in the game, Miggy goes off with what looks to be a hamstring injury. Sean Longstaff makes this yelp that nobody has ever heard in their life when the ball gets brayed off his ankle. I think that was just a twisted ankle by the looks of it. Yeah. But you could see Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall in deep conversation, and you could see the signs of frustration were coming through there.
Absolutely. I think when Longstaff went down, the Sky camera panned over to Eddie and Jason in the dugout, and you could definitely tell he was like, "Oh, God's sake, another one! What the hell's going on here?" And it was like you really felt for him at that point as well. It's like you can't get any worse, and then you've got more players dropping like flies just in this game alone. And we prepared, and we got a squad that was capable of competing on all these fronts. We built it up, and then, like you say, we've got this unbelievable list of injuries, and obviously a couple of suspensions in there as well. And you just think, what else is going to happen? What else could possibly go wrong now to give us even more of a headache? And
don't say that, Daryl. Don't say that.
But that's how it felt last night. It's like, you're just waiting for the next thing to happen to cause a problem. It feels like the bad luck, the bad run of luck in that respect just isn't ending. And luckily, we'll have Bruno back from suspension after the international break. Hopefully, Isaac comes back into it. But we're still missing so many crucial players. And like you said before, it hampers our ability to rotate and keep players fresh. And you can definitely see that now. And the schedule to come after this international break is absolutely terrifying. If this little run of games here where we're playing every 3 days was bad enough, everybody who's watching or listening, go and check your calendars and just see how many we've got to come in the next 30 odd days. It's absolutely frightening. 10 in 31 games.
And it's not even like lesser teams.
No.
I mean, Everton, granted, are in there, but they've had a bit of an upturn in form. You've got Spurs, you've got PSG, Milan, Man U, for all that they're not great at the minute, are still up and around where we are. I know it's very sort of like Eddie Howe-esque, but I always just look at the next game. I don't really concentrate on, but like I took a second and took stock of like December, and that like terrifies me because with injuries, yes, Isak might be back. He's probably not going to be match fit. But other than that, it's just Bruno. Like everyone else is out until like end of December, start of January. So it's going to be
And that's relying on everybody else staying fit.
And not picking up injuries as well. So that is a massive, massive concern. And it's just typical Newcastle. You had the highs of last season. You're in the Champions League, and you just get absolutely decimated. So I know I'm going off on a little tangent, but it would be so interesting to see how we would have performed with a full squad in the Champions League. Obviously, that remains to be seen how we'll do in that, but it's just like so unprecedented. Like, fair enough, 3, 4, 5 injuries to first team players. You think, it's a bit unlucky, but 11 or 12 is just like it's absolutely unheard of.
So the footballing gods have punished for there. Like I'll tell you that they definitely have. Daryl, just to quickly go through the second goal, just much of a muchness, wasn't it? It's just one of those goals where it's just a bit of a scramble at the front post, and Slanky just it's I think he flicks it in with the edge of his foot. Really, just swipes it and hopes for the best, and obviously hits the roof of the net. But it's one of those things, Daryl. It happens, and we've just got to learn to take it from there, don't we?
Yeah, it wasn't the prettiest goals you'll ever see. For me, it was another sign of probably the mental fatigue that we're suffering from as well as physical. The lads at the back are, they've all played the same amount of games in such a short space of time, and it's just a case where when you get more mentally fatigued, you're more likely to switch off in certain moments, and because the ball comes in and causes so much chaos, I think it rebounds off the post before it falls to Solanke.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And it's just a case of the lads like, whoa, what's going on here? It's happening all so quickly. It is a shame to concede a goal like that, especially when he's only a couple of yards out. But when you're that close to goal, you just have to make a contact with it. It's going to end up in the back of the net, barring some sort of miracle save from close range, which you don't see very often. And I did feel for the lads at that point. I was thinking it's a bit harsh on them now. I mean, yes, Bournemouth probably deserved more out of that game, but like we said at the very start, there was no question in the effort. The effort was there. It just didn't fall right for us, did it?
I just want to apologise for anybody who is watching this on YouTube and not listening to the audio, because Iain, honestly, he's dropping in and out like there's no tomorrow. We'll invite him back in. There you go.
That Wi-Fi's gone back in the bunker, hasn't
it? You know what it is? I think it's on like a pay as you go meter. Like it happened in the preview. I'm so sorry, everyone that's watching. Literally around about 20 minutes in, it goes. I wouldn't care. It's only there. There's nothing blocking it. It's just Newton Aycliffe Wi-Fi. Apologies, everyone. And I didn't quite catch what Daryl said.
It's fine. It's fine. So end of the game, obviously, it finishes 2-0 to Bournemouth. But then I want to touch on this because I've got my own opinion on this as well. But I want to hear your thoughts on it as well, boys. And I think you probably know what we're going to talk about. So the video which has been doing the rounds where Kieran Trippier goes over to the section where the away fans are and has a bit of a disagreement with one of the fans. No more than that. It's not. It's not an argument or anything like that. It just seems like there's a couple of words said, nothing malicious or anything like that, as far as we know. What's your thoughts on that, Iain?
So my personal opinion, by all means, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Personally, I thought it was a poor performance from us. I get there's reasons why that is. Entitled to have an opinion, everyone is. I don't think the best forum for that is to then have a go at the players. I think there's been a post I've seen on Twitter. The lads come out and sort of held his hands up and said, "Yeah, it was me. I was frustrated. I was full of drink, whatever. Probably shouldn't have done it," which is fair enough. Let the matter lie now. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill. But I just think there's probably better forums like kick off in your group chat like all we were like. But I don't think directing it at the players at the match seconds after a loss is the best thing to do. But he's come out, he's held his hands up. Trippier has come out and said like there was nothing in it. He's apologised for the performance. It's just a case of moving on now.
Yeah, I think neither person's look great on the end of it, Daryl, and that goes for Trippier as well. Trippier should have probably just contained himself and just obviously tried to ignore it. But it's football, emotions go absolutely through the ceiling, especially at the hands of a defeat. And you know what is, if I was a travelling fan as well, I'd went down there. And like we said at the start, before kickoff, we were all confident going into that game as well. But it wasn't a great performance, far from it. But then you've got to take a step back and look at the situation and this injury crisis which we have, fatigue which has came in as well. And do you know what it is? There's no hard feelings between myself and what that lad did, because it happens. Football happens, and like you said, Ian, if people kept those emotions to themselves, then they'll just build up. They'll be just even worse 10 weeks down the line. Group chats are great for that, because we get called every name under the sun between each other. There was a bit of a kick-off in our group chat yesterday as well about it. But like you said, credit the lad for coming out and saying, yeah, it was me. I hold my hands up, because he could have just been hiding and just ignored it. But he's came out and apologised, said, maybe I didn't do the best of what I could have done there, and I shouldn't have reacted the way I did. Trips has done the same, came out and explained the situation as well. That's it. Like, it happens. Move on.
It's one of those things. It's like just like a heat of the moment thing. It all happens, and sometimes it happens in such a small period of time where that over that 90 minutes, that poor lad's been sat there, full day on the drink, on the bus on the way down, or whatever else has happened, and it's just that immediate outburst. And I don't think at the time when he's done it, try to put myself into his shoes here, and he's probably thought, I know it is. I've made all this effort to come down, and this has all happened, blah blah blah, and it's like, in that immediate short little space of time there, everything's just come to a boil, and he's just thought, I need to release this negative energy and whatnot. And unfortunately, he's done it in a way where the players are in front of him, and obviously Kieran, being the kind of lad that he is, he can hear that and he takes that to heart. And all of us will all realise that the bigger picture here and the situation, and we all agree that it wasn't the best performance, and we all agree, and we all know what the lads are going through in terms of fitness, fatigue, and all that. So it's all about reading the bigger picture. And again, like I said, in the heat of the moment, these things can ever so slightly spiral out of control. To be honest, it's not the first time I've seen it happen between our fans and our players. It's happened before. You don't have to go that far back to think about it. Before the takeover, when we were getting...
John Carver was offering to knock fans out the training ground.
John Carver offering people out the training ground. I mean, it doesn't take... you don't have to go that far back to see it. And it does happen, and it has happened. And it'll probably happen again in the future. But for me personally, if it was me, I would never take it out on the players like that. It's not something that I would consider doing. You can mumble and grumble, and you can be frustrated at a defeat, but the journey that we're on now, we can't afford to take it out on the players, because if you start getting abuse and stick from your players, in any shape or form, then it's gonna harm the club in the long run, because you're gonna then maybe certain players that we'll try and attract to the club will think, well, yeah, but my fans will have a go at us if we have a bad game. You're gonna it sounds like I'm overreacting here, but the reality of the situation is that is going to start putting people off coming, because people want to be loved at their football clubs no matter what. And yes, we can all have bad performances, and we can accept that. And Kieran's come out and said the same after the game. He admits that we weren't at all out. Eddie Howe came out and said that it wasn't anywhere near what he was expecting of us. And we all have that expectation as well. But just be careful about what you're doing, and have a bit of consideration, and think about the situation and read the picture. These lads have absolutely run through brick walls for us. In the situation that we're in, where we're missing an outfield 11 of players through injury or suspension, we have to be thankful that those lads are still willing to put in that graft and run through brick walls for us, even when there's hardly anything in reserve to help them. And this break couldn't come any better. It couldn't come at a much better time than it does now. And I said it in the group chat last night, I just wish they'd all withdraw from international duty so they can have a rest.
I think we
I
might
need
see,
them to be
I
fit
think we
for this
might see a
game.
couple of them drop out in the next couple of days there, Daryl. But I absolutely love how you've gone from 0 to 1,000 with that one. Like you've just described us as the Real Madrid fans, the Arsenal fans. We're blocking players in the ground. You're not going home.
I know we're not as bad as the likes of Everton chasing people down the street, but you know,
Yet.
it's not a nice situation to be.
Well, do you know anything else which you want to add? Anything from you, Ian? Like I said,
mean,
I think we will see a lot of players just drop out of that international team now. Callum Wilson
I
has to.
think
Apparently, he's out for a few weeks.
Wilson's already. I think how confirmed that he is. I think if you take stock at the whole situation, it's our first loss since September in the Premier League. Obviously, the games are mounting up. We're still up and around sort of the upper echelons of the league. It's just one of those things where it's massively, massively unlucky that we've gone through all these injuries. But I think if you have frustrated, like I don't think people calling out that guy is. I think he's warranted to say that it's a bad performance. I just think the form that he's done it in his play. I think poor performances should be not criticised, but looked at and talked about. Yeah. The same way sort of brilliant performances be talked about. I think what Newcastle fans struggle with is because we set such a high level of standard over the course of last season. I think because football fans in general are very emotive and very reactive. I think as soon as something doesn't go to plan, I think everyone just they speak without thinking. I've been guilty of it myself, albeit not directly to Kieran Trippier, just in a group chat. But I think take stock of where we are. We're plagued with injuries. We're still in and around European places. We can still get out of the Champions League and still have European football. We've got players to come back, so there's still plenty positives for me. It's just one of those days yesterday.
A lot of it comes from the highs and lows of football, doesn't it? Because just let's look a week ago. You get a result against Man United, then Arsenal, then succession, like week the following week, you get a defeat at the hands of Dortmund, and then Bournemouth away. It just emotions are always going to be high, of course they are, and you know what it is, the players will be just as frustrated as everybody else and knackered at the same time.
Yeah, it just on what Ian said there. I'm actually really glad that the lads come out afterwards and he's held his hands up and acknowledged that what he's done was wrong, regardless of the situation that he's done it in. Even if he was, he had a few too many or whatever his excuse was. Not saying it's invalid or whatever, but I'm really glad that he's come out and admitted that he was wrong to do it, and he's apologised as well. It's a big thing to do.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, boys, for joining us for this one. Thanks, everybody who has been watching this match reaction on YouTube. If you just want to like the video, become a subscriber. It costs you absolutely nothing to do that. If you want to give an extra bit back, it is just $2.99 a month to become a member. You get access to other things. You get early videos. You get extra videos. You get access to the Telegram group and the Gaming Discord channel as well. If you're listening to the audio on whatever platform that may be, just give us a 5-star review as well and leave a little comment in the review as well. Thanks, everybody. Been a pleasure. On to the next one. And thank God this international break came along. See you later.
Yeah.